We pretend caregiving starts later in life, but when it begins young, the system quietly disappears and expects you to manage it anyways. I'm at an age where friends are scattered in their life stages. Someone's in school, someone's working 80 hours a week, someone's getting married, someone's going on a world tour, and someone's having a baby. Well, a lot of them are having a baby. And if you're in that crowd, then you've probably heard, "You're never ready. You just have to do it." You know what else no one's ever ready for and just has to do it anyways? Caregiving. This week is personal. We're talking about caregiving, grief, and the cost of not being heard. But it's not just another caregiver story. Welcome to the Aging Together podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Pooja Ashok Patel, a double board certified occupational therapist and gerontologist with additional certifications in dementia and fall prevention. This season, we are unfiltered. In this podcast, I interview guests who are experts in their fields or caregivers who are sharing their lived experiences. Let's meet today's guest. Most of the caregivers who have shared their stories on the show have been older, sandwich generation, an adult child, an aging spouse. This one is from a young woman who became a widow at 33, and one who happens to be one of my closest friends. Our husbands grew up together, bonding over their love for fast cars. And in 2023, we tragically had to say goodbye to hers. And she's finally ready to share her story. We're diving into how she navigated caregiving at a younger age, her journey, the grief, advocacy, and responsibility while managing to get married and have a baby with that same person. The love of her life and one of my husband's best friends, Josh Little. Melissa, honored to share this platform with you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
What's your big hot take?
I think that the world needs to stop judging, not only in, the world, but they need to stop judging young widows. And honestly, they need to stop judging widows.
Yeah. Yeah. You're already going through so much.
Yeah. You're going through so much that, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's start at the very beginning because your story is a long one.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
Yeah.
We'll try to shorten it up.
You and Josh started dating and
we started dating March 10th of 2012. Yeah, I think I was 22 when we started dating, and he was 24. Yeah. Long time ago.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
It is a long time ago. Can you take us back to the moment when you first learned something was wrong? And what was that like? The initial diagnosis, and then also sort of how old were you guys? Like what stage of life were you in?
We were only dating for a couple years, and then I want to say it was 2015. I was actually working at a bar overnight, and I had come home. I think it was probably like 4 a.m. by the time I got home. Fell asleep. All of a sudden, the bed started shaking. It woke me up because I'm like, what's going on? And Josh was having a seizure. Obviously, I called 911. They took him to the hospital, and yeah.
How long? This was when you guys were how long into dating?
Oh, God. Probably like 2-3 years, I want to say. 2-3 years.
Yeah.
It was early on, like compared to how long we were together. It was super early on in our relationship.
Yeah. But it wasn't like you were newly dating, but you guys were also really young.
We were very young. I mean, I was,
25?
Young 20s. Yeah, I was like 24, 25, somewhere along those, and him too. Like I was still I consider I was still a baby at that point. I had not experienced life. So to experience this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened? You called 911. You guys got to the hospital. And what happened from there?
So long ago that at this point I'm like, what really happened? But I remember getting to the hospital, and they had already taken him back to go for a CT. So by the time I got there, I think he was either gone or he was just coming back. It was, right after it happened. I mean, when you're in the emergency room, it usually takes hours before they come back, and they're busy, right? So, but you're usually waiting, and they came back quick. Yeah, it was quick because I got there and a couple minutes later they were coming to talk to us, and I can't remember if his parents had made it there fast too. So like I called his parents after the ambulance took him, and his parents sped home because they were both in Wisconsin. They were at the lake house. So they came back, they got there. And I just remember us all sitting there, and the doctor goes, unfortunately, I don't have great news. We did find what was called an astrocytoma stage 2, and it's a brain tumor. And it was a huge mass. I don't remember the size of it, but it was huge. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and that was the first go around, right?
Yeah.
And so he got diagnosed with this astrocytoma. what was that like? So then did he got surgery, he went through therapies, like what happened from there?
I think first we did the surgery. And if I remember correctly, he never left the hospital. Like he didn't get to go home and prepare for surgery. He stayed there. So he was in there for a couple days. This is crazy. Like I didn't remember any of this.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about it and it's like a flashback.
It's crazy how much our brains intentionally forget
Yeah.
the dark times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy because, this whole time I'm like, that's exactly what I think has happened.
Yeah. That's a lot of trauma. I mean, at a young age when you don't really know, you're still trying to figure out life. You're young, you're in a new like relationship. And then all of a sudden now you're like, shoot, like my boyfriend has a brain tumor.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So he got surgery.
So he had surgery. So he was there for a couple days and then had the surgery. And I think this was the time where he only had the one surgery. So he had surgery and then we got home straight into, you got to be at the hospital 5 days a week for the next, I think 3 weeks or something. We're doing radiation. So we did the radiation, but meanwhile, while we're doing the radiation, he had to take oral chemo. So this type of tumor, I guess you don't do like the injection chemo. It's just oral every day. He was so sick. And he was weak.
Yeah.
And he's Josh. So for the people that didn't know Josh, like he was so strong. I mean, that man, he was like, nope, cool. I have cancer. What's next? What am I doing? Like,
let's get the show on the road.
Correct. Like,
yeah.
All right, come on. So yeah, I mean, we did that, I want to say for 6 weeks. Meanwhile, going back and forth for like an MRI and all of this stuff. I mean, that point, I don't remember all of that, but I just remember it being insane.
Yeah.
Driving, and he couldn't drive, right? So I was driving everywhere.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
What do you remember, since you just mentioned like it's hard to remember some of the stuff that you've forgotten, but like what do you remember most clearly from that period, whether it was like emotional, mental, physical, or like maybe how were you feeling that maybe at that time you didn't realize, but now that you reflect on it, you're like, oh yeah, that's how I felt.
Numb. And it took me until after my husband passed away to realize that I was just numb. Like it was just go with the flow at all points. Like, obviously this it came back, we all know, right? So, but numb.
Yeah.
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 Scared, confused, nervous, uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think one of the things you mentioned was that you just sort of went on autopilot.
Yes.
What was that like? Like, what do you remember about that?
I remember just doing things. Like I didn't stop to think about them. I just went. The bills don't stop. Yeah. I still got to go to work. He can't go to work. He can't drive. He's going through chemo. Thankfully, I don't know what that's like, but watching him be so sick, you have to do it. You love this person. How can I help?
Do you feel that at that point you were being a caregiver, or did you just at that time, like reflecting on it, you just did it without really thinking about it?
I don't think I knew until now.
Yeah.
Of course, after he's passed away, just like I didn't know those emotions. I don't think I thought that I was a caregiver. I thought I was just a human who loved this man, and I knew I needed to take care of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that's pretty common with most people who enter into caregiving roles and don't define that, right? Like people don't enter into caregiving roles saying like, I'm going to take care of you. Like it's, hey, I love you and I'm going to help you.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
So got through all of that. He recovered, was in remission. How did that change the trajectory of your life together? Like not just medically, but in terms of like roles and plans and any goals you guys might have had or expectations?
Well, I mean, number one, you expect to, this is the person I love, right? You want to get engaged, you want to get married, you want to have a family. Well, children became a no, because not a no, I shouldn't say that, but children, we were told we couldn't conceive. So if you wanted to, we'd, have to go through all the steps to do the IVF process. So we went through what we needed to go through to prepare, but we were told no children on our own. Like, I was like, all right, obviously you need a job, you need money. There was no house, there was no new cars, there was no engagements, there was no weddings, nothing. Everything that we wanted was just gone. Yeah. And even though we still worked hard because Josh was Josh. And he was like, we're going to do this, whether it takes us 20 years or whatever, we're going to do it. But in the back of my mind, I was always like, I can't have everything I dreamed of. You have to change your look on life a little bit.
Looking back now, what support did you need during that first chapter that you didn't know or didn't know how to ask for?
Help.
Yeah.
Help. I needed help. I was like, well, people are helping. I will never discredit anybody. I had a lot of help, but I didn't have emotional help. I didn't have time to go do therapy. I didn't have time for myself.
Yeah. I mean, you were 25 working.
I was working
what you
overnight,
said.
60 hours a week. I was working
Yeah.
overnight.
And then taking care of him during the day.
And then taking care of him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when he was in remission, like,
Yeah.
life wasn't the same. Life wasn't quote unquote normal. It wasn't. Yeah.
Talk to me about that remissions phase. So I believe he was in remission for 8 years because he was in remission when I met you guys.
Right.
And you guys were doing well. And I know, he was relatively healthy and things were going well. So he was in remission for 8 years. What did those 8 years look like?
They looked like oddly normal with like going to work. I see you after work. It was normal.
Yeah.
But it was also constant anxiety, constant worry, constant, are you breathing? Are you okay? Like, I think I would ask that man probably 60 times a day, are you okay? It was nothing but, and truthfully, I would picture the seizures. I would picture all of it. Like, I feel like that's all I did for those 8 years. Like, even though he was okay, I always knew in the back of my mind, like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Do you feel like you carried on that sort of trauma of witnessing him having a seizure and then going through this process? You held on to it and then it was sort of like haunting you because you weren't able to prioritize getting help for yourself or right? Because I imagine he went through this like services, the support, like he probably had therapy, maybe check in sometimes, or maybe he had opportunities to like check in because he was the patient. But this is something that I talk a lot about is like, we don't offer that same response or those same options to the caregiver who's at the bedside. And they're also going through it.
There are options. There are. I won't say that there are not, but I definitely don't think there's enough. As a caregiver, most of us, we're still working 40 hours a week or whatever. We're working full time. Yeah. You still have to go home, cook dinner. You have to, go take a shower. You have to do all these things. And until almost recently now, I would say back when all of this happened in 14, 15, there was no help. You couldn't get that.
Right.
Fast forward, now I realize there is a lot more help, but I feel like there needs to be more. I feel like, it's a topic that isn't talked about enough.
Yep. And that's why we're here.
Yeah. I love
it. So obviously you guys got married because we were in the wedding. So I know that.
True. And it was a great wedding.
And you guys also had a sweet baby girl.
Did.
So within those 8 years, what eventually led to that point of being like, all right, you're good. Let's get married?
Honestly, that is one question I wish he was here to answer because it took him 9 years.
Yes. I know, because we would give him shit for it all the time.
Every day. I'm like, all right, babe, come on. Where's my ring? Like, hello. Showing you pictures. Like, he'd be like, come on, babe. Not again. One day. Honestly, I think he was finally able to. So during that remission time, we were on MRI scans every 3 months, which is like a typical. Everything was good. I think somewhere in between there, he had to go in for a biopsy because they saw something and they were like, let's just biopsy it.
And the biopsy was negative.
Yep. And then we got to, so fast forward, right? 9 years later at this point, I think he was working. He had a great job.
Yeah.
He had great support.
He felt healthy.
He felt great.
Yeah.
He always felt great. No matter what he looked like, no matter what size he was, like he was like, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I think he finally was like, all right, like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So May 30th of 2022, he asked me to marry him. Obviously, I said yes, Obviously. But I honestly had no idea. But he was smart. He sent me to get my hair done that day. And he knew I had my nail appointment the day before. So, I had no idea. So anyway, so we get engaged. We pick a date. We get the venue. We get it all, including my dress.
For October. I remember.
For October 22nd. It was supposed to be 10/22/22.
22. Yep.
All of a sudden, November comes and I had real bad heartburn. So he's like, babe, you're pregnant. Haha, joking. I was pregnant. Turns out I was pregnant. again, we were told we couldn't get pregnant, right? So this whole time we're like, all right, whatever. So we find out we're pregnant and we push the wedding date. Everybody tried to tell me to do October of 2023. Just push it out a year. I was like, nah, I don't want to wait that long.
Yeah.
So we did February 25th of 2023. So we have a wedding. It's wonderful. Our daughter, is obviously in it. She was a baby. I think she was
probably 6 months.
Yeah, 6 or 7. Yeah. Ish. She was a little chunky, as he called chunky monkey. Yeah. So yeah, we have the wedding.
And it was a beautiful wedding. Everyone was so happy to see you guys finally get to that day.
Finally. Keyword finally.
Yeah. Well, and especially after everything that you guys had been through and just having seen continue to support him and stand by him. And then also finally getting a wedding that somewhat matched your dreams that you didn't think you were going to.
Correct. I did not. And it was the best night of my life. Like truly, I had so much fun. I was so happy. I got to marry Josh, So So we get married in February 2023.
And then there's a bombshell on May 1st.
May 1st.
You had 2 solid months of bliss.
Yeah. May 1st.
And then what happened on May 1st?
May 1st of 2020. It was a normal day. Actually, no, it wasn't a normal day because it was a Monday and Josh was off. Yeah, he was off. It was a Monday. They gave him Sunday and Monday off that week for some reason. And it was a normal day. I was in Addie's room and oh my God. Yeah, I was in Addie's room playing with her and he was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. So he goes to the bathroom and, I'm like, it's been a little bit. It's Josh. He's fine, right? All of a sudden I heard, babe. And I can hear that so vividly. Like now, obviously I ran. Mind you, Addie at this point is 10 months?
Probably,
I think she's 10 months at this point. So I have to block her in, but he's screaming for my help. And, he comes out of the bathroom and he looks at me and he goes, I don't feel good. I said, all right, sit down. He's like, something's not right. So I sit him down on the bed. I run to grab Addie. I come back. I put her down in her little playpen and he looks at me and I go, what's wrong? I'm like, you're having a panic attack. Now he gets panic attacks, right? So this is something new for him. So we thought he was having a panic attack. And then the next thing you know, I laid him back and he had a seizure. I tried calling 911 and for some reason the phone wouldn't go through. The phone did not go through the first time I tried to call 911 on that one. Finally, it got through. But at this point, remember, I knew what to do. I jumped into action because I'm like, we've been through this before. Holy crap. Like, he's having a seizure. We were just told he was fine a couple months ago at a scan. Okay. Call 911. They come, they take him. Mind you, again, I have a 10-month-old. What am I going to do with her? I'm not taking her to the emergency room. Who's going to take my kid? So thankfully, my parents live down the street, which thank God for them. Yeah. Because I would not have been able to go to Josh, So we got to the hospital. They do a CT and they come back and they go, we don't see anything. You guys can go home. And I remember saying, are we not doing an MRI? Like, he's a cancer patient. He had a brain tumor, right? Like, so now at this point, I'm being an advocate for him. And it's like, nope, he's fine. We didn't see anything. Okay, I trust the doctors, right? Cool. We go home. We spend the next week. He took it off work. So we were home. Everything was fine. Nothing changed. Everything's good. Monday, May 8th, that day kind of lives rent free in my head. Same scenario. Probably the exact same. I think, again, he might have been in the bathroom or doing something and same exact scenario. Call 911, come. So we go to the hospital. They do a CT. It's clear again. Like nothing's changed. Again, I'm over here like, why are we not doing an MRI? Can we please do an MRI? No, you need to go see your, his doctor. Okay. The neurologist. Yes. Dr. Paleologos, who I adore her. So, okay, cool. We'll go see Dr. Paleologos in a few days, right? So I was still not happy with them not doing the MRI because what if, right? We knew. And honestly, thinking back, I think I also knew. I think on Monday, May 1st, I knew that, this bombshell was about to be dropped. So, so they discharge us. We're in the car. Josh goes, I want a McChicken. Him and his McChickens. I was like, it's either going to be the coffee or the McChicken. Which one? McDonald's is 3 minutes down the road from the hospital. We pull in to McDonald's and he looks at me and he goes, babe, I don't feel good. Babe. I'm like, you're just having a panic attack. It's okay. Take a deep breath. Like, let's open the windows because that's what it kind of looks like. When he's the beginning of his
pre-seizure,
pre-seizure.
yeah.
Yes. It's an anxiety attack, basically, which we've had multiple times in the last how many years, right? Yeah. So he starts seizing in the car. He's sitting up. I can't lay him back. I'm driving back to the hospital. So he is having a seizure next to me while I'm driving back to the hospital. I didn't know what to do. So I called his mom and was like, Mama Little, I need you to talk to Josh right now. So I just remember him holding the phone, and it was a different seizure. He remembered the whole thing. He knew what was going on while it was going on, which he said he's never experienced before. So of course we get back to the hospital, and I'm pissed at this point because I literally asked you to do an MRI. You didn't, and I'm back in here. So I was the crazy person, screaming in the emergency room, you just let my husband go. It was so soon after they let us go that when they brought us back to the room, when they finally got me back to the room, it was literally the same room we had just left.
Yeah.
It hadn't even been cleaned.
Yeah.
So they finally took him for an MRI, come back fast. They already, it was within minutes at this point, or it felt like minutes, I should say.
Sure.
Maybe it wasn't. But yeah, so they come back and we were in the hallway. No, this was the second time.
Yeah. You said they took you back to the same room.
We did go back to the same room. But what was the hallway? Oh my God. Did another seizure happen after that? Ron? Nope. Body scan. Okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. So they come over. So they tell us, okay. Oh no, we're at NCH at this point. Okay. There we go. Sorry. It gets super fuzzy. So I remember them coming in and saying, your tumor's back. I don't think it's a stage 2. I think it's worse. We somehow ended up getting transferred to Dr. Paleologos. We went to the other hospital, planned surgery for 2 days after.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think everybody came.
Yeah. We all were there sitting with you while he was in surgery.
Yeah. My God. Yeah.
Because we had Addie there too.
We did.
Yeah. And we were all just sitting in the waiting room.
Oh my God.
You would have been sitting there for 4-6 hours by yourself. And I remember whoever didn't have to go to work.
They came, right?
We were yeah. So we were all sitting around.
Whoa.
Yeah. Just trying to keep ourselves optimistic, keep you optimistic.
You fed me. I do remember somebody feeding me. Everybody kept me fed through this whole thing. Everybody's eat. And I'm like, you guys, I want to eat. I did not want to eat. But everybody said, eat. I'm like, all right. Jimmy John's. Was it Jimmy John's?
Jimmy John's was in hospice.
Oh, it was that.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah, it was always food. You guys always brought me food.
Yeah.
And drinks and Starbucks.
Well, we knew that. We knew that if you started going downhill, we were going to have bigger issues.
Yeah.
Because you were the only one holding everything together at that point. From just a get shit done perspective, right? You knew all the history, you knew all the doctors, you knew how to handle everything. You knew what the plan was. You knew what Josh wanted, you know what he needed. You knew pretty much anything and everything to do with all of that.
Yeah.
And in all of that, you were not going to take care of yourself. So that was the only way that all of us knew how to show up for you was
food.
We can't do anything about any of the other stuff, but we can make sure that you and your little girl are good. Yeah, I do remember being there and having a lot of candid conversations. I remember at one point, because you had asked me to tell you the truth because you were asking me for my medical opinion. And I was like, do you really want to hear what I think? Or do you want to stick to what your doctors told you? Because to me, as a friend, I was like, I don't know if I'm not going to lie to you.
And you didn't lie to me.
And I didn't, because I didn't want you to have your hopes up and then be devastated. And I think you mentioned this about your doctor too, that she had set you up in a way where you knew this was coming. Yeah. You didn't know when it would come, but you knew this was coming. And so you were prepared and didn't have false expectations.
That's true.
To then be upset about.
That's true. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I did not remember that time. When I tell you, it is a complete blur, right? I remember bits and pieces of this entire time, but I think I have put so much in the a forget about it place that I remember that conversation. I remember exactly where we were sitting. We could go there right now and I could point to the seats.
I know. I remember the exact ottoman area that it was. Can't remember if it was the day before his surgery or the day I don't think it was while he was in surgery because everyone was there. I think it was like the day before, because he had those 2 days on the floor.
Correct. There was
Before
nobody else there.
surgery.
I think it was only you and me.
Yeah.
Was Sagar
He may have come by at some point, or maybe
with
he was like
coffee?
taking, or maybe he was like on a call or something. But
Yeah, I remember.
I remember at that point, it was just me and you. And we were
Wow.
sitting there and you were like, give it to me straight. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that.
And you did though.
Yeah.
You did. But
I
you
mean,
said,
I told you based on my experience, right?
Right.
And I was like, hey, like, here's what the data shows. Here's what my experience has been working in the hospital with neuro patients, right?
Mhm.
Like, here's the thing, right? Here are the facts about this. And, he beat the odds for 8 years. And for it to come back with such a vengeance was going to be a rough road. That was not going to end well.
Yeah, it was how quickly. I mean, we had just had a scan a few months prior. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about.
And so then he got that surgery and they identified what type of tumor it was.
Well, so I think the first surgery only were able, like, the doctor,
it was like a little bit of it.
Yeah, he left some because he was like, I didn't want Josh to wake up and be paralyzed, right?
Yes.
Like, because I think that was one thing that Josh was like, actually, I don't know. Josh said, no matter what, I still want to be alive. Right. I'd rather be alive than not around. Like, I have a daughter and a wife.
His will to live was so strong.
So strong.
Yeah.
So I think the surgeon, if I remember, the surgeon was just kind of like, I wanted to see how he was going to wake up.
Yeah.
And then that's when they sent the biopsy.
Yeah.
I knew all these words. They sent the biopsy off. And then in the meantime, they decided to send Josh back in to try and get all of it. I think they got 90% of it at that point, if I remember correctly.
Something around there. Because then that were like for the remaining 10%, you went on and like did
radiation.
the proton therapy.
Proton therapy. Yeah. Proton radiation. Proton radiation is what gave Josh, I believe,
6 months.
6. Was it 6 or 8?
Probably 6 before he started feeling crappy again, right?
So it was 8, right? From the time that yeah, in total, right? And then and then once October hit,
right?
Because I remember saying to somebody like, this was almost our wedding month,
right? Because he was great during Addie's birthday over the summer, if you remember. Like he was going through.
He was on a lot of.
He was on a lot of meds.
My God,
lots of meds. But he was there.
He was there. He was functional. But I think that's when the eyesight started.
His vision was starting to
go. But it was like slow. Like it started off very slow. But he was 20/20 vision his whole life, so. Right.
But so from like I'd say like June to October he had that when he did the proton therapy he was doing it.
So he did the proton radiation and the chemo. We did oral chemo.
Yep.
But the proton radiation we kept getting good scans after that proton radiation. They were positive. It was still there.
It wasn't growing as fast.
It wasn't growing at all. Not that it wasn't growing. It was all gone. I remember seeing the image. It was all gone, right? However, I think they call it like the octopus tumor, where it's like got the tentacles.
Like has little tentacles that go out.
So those were never, you can't get rid of those, right? Those are always there. So now at this point, everything's looking positive, right? One day, his lower back started to hurt. I think it was in October.
Yeah.
It was October.
The beginning. Had to have been because
he was in a wheelchair for Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay, so beginning of October.
It was in October because up until then he was doing okay.
Yeah,
and then the back pain.
started. The leg pain and the foot pain because he went back to work, didn't he? I think he still went to work, right? If I remember, wasn't he working
for a little bit? Yeah. Oh man, he wanted to go back to work badly.
He didn't want to be at home with me. Just kidding. I remember calling the doctor, Dr. Paleologos, and I'm like, "Hey, this is what's going on." Now, I Googled a lot of things, right? That's what we all do. So, of course, I'm reading about why does he have leg pain? Why does he have back pain? So that's what initially made me call Dr. Paleologos. And she said, all right, we're going to get you in for a scan. It could have possibly spread to the spine. So it may not be growing up here. It stopped growing here, but now it's moved down the spine or in the spinal fluid. So we won't even be able to see it. So we went in for the scan and that part's a huge blur. I just remember at one point, it was like December 1st or something. In December, she told us he had like 2 weeks.
Yes. So
or a few days, I think.
So that part, that week leading up to hospice, I remember very vividly.
Oh, okay.
Because we were at your house and he was home.
Oh my God.
And he was like not doing well.
He couldn't walk.
He couldn't really walk.
Couldn't
he
see.
couldn't really see. You had Christmas decorations up. We were trying to do the ornaments with Addie. And I remember the boys were all sitting on the couch.
Yep. I remember that.
Like last few pictures of them all.
That's why I remember it.
Yeah.
Pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was when he like wasn't doing as well. And you had said, we have an appointment tomorrow, because he was miserable at that point.
He wasn't Josh.
Meds. He wasn't Josh.
I think we lost. This is so messed up to say, but Josh was gone. He was not Josh after that that May 8th.
Like that will that he had to survive and live from May.
Correct.
Through all of that.
Right. Insane.
It was kind of gone.
It was.
Like it wasn't gone in the sense of like he still wanted to live.
Correct. He thought he was,
he still thought he would get out of this.
Correct.
But he wasn't that like happy-go-lucky, peppy person that he always was, even through all of the chemo and the radiation and the surgeries and stuff before that.
And his personality.
Yep.
What a lot of people I don't think understand is when their personality changes, it changes way more than, I think that's what hurt the most. Is that he was no longer Josh. He was no longer Josh.
Yeah.
You know?
And the meds weren't working. I think at that point.
They were literally keeping him comfortable.
Right.
If that.
Right. And so I know one of the things you wanted to talk about was like that palliative approach that was taken with the medications at that point, because you knew that it was not going to end well, but you wanted to make sure he was comfortable.
So it's kind of going back to the caregiver topic, but now I know that it's a caregiver. But at that point I was like, I'm just his wife, right?
Yeah.
You have to make decisions that no matter how old you are, you still have to make this decision, right? You have to decide, when do we stop giving meds and we just make him comfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Josh and I had these conversations a billion times in those 8 months since we found out, right? We knew he was going to die, right? Yeah. When we didn't know, but we had conversation after, what do you want to do? What do you want to, and it got to a point where we're like, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so we just stopped talking about it. Then comes time to sign a DNR. And I remember it. It was a pink piece of paper and I had to put it on the refrigerator. I had to make sure that if 911 was called, it was there.
Yeah.
And thankfully I never had to use it, because I don't know what I would have done had I had to use it. He told me exactly what he wanted. He told me he did not want to be in a hospital. He did not want to be at a facility. He wanted to be at home. I was like, okay, sure. Like, I'll back you up on that, right? Time got closer and closer. And I'm a mom of, what was she?
A little over
16 months old at this point. I'm trying to take care of her. Trying to make sure this man doesn't try. Thankfully, I took a step back off of work for a couple, we'll say 3 weeks at that maybe. I'm giving this man medication at this point, I can't even keep up. I don't even know where I'm at. Yeah. Did I go to the bathroom? Did I shower? I don't even know. You forget about yourself.
Well, and the hardest part, I think what you said was the physical help that he needed.
Yeah. He was walking with a cane, but he was tripping. He was falling. Pretty much have to assist him to the bathroom, but not, thankfully, like, it's Josh. So he was like, leave me alone. I got it.
Yeah.
I'm going to fall, and that brings me to the point where I knew it was the end. He went to the bathroom. I don't know what happened. I was downstairs with the baby, or maybe you guys were over that day. I don't know. Now I'm questioning what day it was, but I remember hearing a big thump, thud. And by the time I got up there, he had fallen in the bathtub trying to pull up his pants. That's the stuff that people don't see, that caregivers need to do. We need to be with them 24/7 all day long. So we had a whole plan. Once doctor told us that, 2 weeks, maybe a couple days. I think that was on a Tuesday. So we scheduled hospice to come in and
at home,
do the at home. Yep. They were supposed to, so we scheduled them. They got us in right away. So they came over on Wednesday.
I think I specifically have the dates in my head. It was like December 1st when you guys had that appointment, or you were told 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
And then December 4th, you started hospice at home, and it wasn't working. So then December 7th was when he went into the inpatient.
But the 7th also was the day that hospice came to the house.
It was the same day.
He woke up that morning. I was with the baby, so I don't really know, but he was really nauseous and he just wanted to sleep. I mean, this was the day after, they told him you've got 2 weeks or a couple days, right? So this is literally the day after.
This was days to weeks.
Correct.
Yeah.
So he laid back down in bed. Hospice came. My mom was in town, thankfully, right? Because again, I've got a 16 or whatever month old. So my mom was there. It was a holiday. It was a Jewish holiday. It was Hanukkah. So thankfully she was there. So he was upstairs. We were downstairs with the hospice people and they were asking me questions. And I was like, yeah, he wants to be at home. But we had decided at that point, instead of being in the house, because I don't think I could physically be in this house knowing my husband passed away there. I didn't think I had it in me. And I was like, for once in my life, or for once in however many years, I'm going to be selfish. And I'm going to say, Josh would want me to do what I got to do to be okay. Right. Because that was who he was.
Yeah.
So we arranged to have them at my parents' house down the street. Come time to do that. So now we're on the 7th and they're there and they were like, okay, we just need to take some vitals on him and I go upstairs. His nose is bleeding and he's throwing up. I don't even know if he was standing up, and he got up and walked towards me. I laid him down on the bed and went downstairs and I told the nurses, who were so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So they went up and they checked him. They came down and they were honest with me because I said, just be honest with me, right? I'm the type of person just tell me, dude. Like, don't sugarcoat anything. Tell me. And that's what I think got me through all of those years was I knew what was happening. And they were honest. They said it could be 24 hours.
Yeah.
But it could be 72.
Yeah.
And that's when I called his parents and we talked and I decided this would be much easier to just put him into the facility. The facility was beautiful. It wasn't what you think. Like, I mean, it is. Don't get me wrong. It is, but
it's not.
But it's not a hospital.
It was a dedicated hospice facility for those who might not be aware
of
that. But yeah, it was a dedicated hospice facility. It was not a nursing home. It was not a hospital. It was not. It was a standalone hospice center.
Yeah. And it was beautiful. It was almost peaceful and calming. So we get him in or whatever and everybody's there. And then you and Sagar show up with the roses. I remember the roses.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember the roses?
Not at the center, no.
So you guys brought in roses. And then because of your roses, they ended up setting up a beautiful thing with a bunch of candles.
They set you guys up with like a candlelight.
Like a whole romantic all because you guys brought these flowers.
Well, and
because then we told them the story.
Like, the tea light candles. And so they set it all up. It was like the last time he was lucid. I want to say.
But he wasn't though. But
he was like awake.
Like he was his eyes. Yeah.
His eyes were open.
He talked. I think he spoke. But by the time everybody left, he wasn't speaking.
But that was like probably the last like lucid-ish moment that you had.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because I think through the whole thing, I was like, this isn't happening. Like I was almost in like denial. Like he's just going to go to sleep and they're going to come in and it's not. It's not. I think we were there. How many days?
4.
We were there 4 days.
It was the 7th, and then he died on the 11th.
And it was crazy because I kept saying it's going to be the 11th. I know it's going to be the 11th because I always make wishes at 11/11, and Josh always,
And his birthday's on the 11th.
And there
was just 11's a big number for 11. You guys. It was just, he was just holding on. But I think it's really important for people to know that those decisions are so hard to make, and you had to make them at a really young age with a daughter under 2 years old and trying to think about like, what would he want? Even though you had the conversations, but you're like also selfishly thinking about yourself and your daughter and just like, what do I do? And I remember you called us that day on the 7th when all of this was happening and you're like, hospice just showed up and like, I can't do this. Like, it's too much. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And I remember it being such an agonizing day. And you were like, we're doing this. This is the facility we're going to. And I think we were all there the next morning.
Everybody. The entire group.
Even the hospice center was like we've never had so many people here for somebody. And we took over that entire sitting area every single day from the 8th to the 11th. Every day. Yeah. And like when I say everybody, it was easily at the least 5 people at a time. At the most, we probably had 15 people in that room.
It was more.
Maybe.
Because it was insane. But somebody was always there sitting with me. right? Even though I barely left that room, I remember every sound. I remember every smell. I remember everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things that I always say is like when people have kids, the villages show up.
They do.
But when things like this are happening, most people don't have a village. Most people don't have anybody
Yeah.
to come show up and support them in that moment. I remember the hospice center being especially like in awe of how many people were just around. You know, maybe not everyone was like offering physical support
Right.
or moral, you know, but like
Yeah.
people were there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the village that I talk about. Like, it's like everyone needs that village, even when someone's dying.
It's true.
You know, especially when they're so young. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's like such a big piece of this that I think we just don't talk about enough. And I've obviously seen it mostly with older people. During the pandemic, we had a lot of younger people, and you couldn't have family there.
That's true.
Right.
That's
I mean, you
true.
guys were at the tail end, like right after everything had started going back to normal. And so we were all allowed to be there with masks on, and it was like somewhat manageable. Yeah. So he died on December 11th, 2023
at 8:10 p.m.
And I remember that first week you were back into that autopilot of just like, we need to figure out the funeral. We need to get the headstone. We need to get all these things in order, like all this stuff that needed to happen. Again, things you don't know how to do at 33 years old.
No. Not at all.
And yeah, so you got through all that. Thankfully, there were a ton of people around. People pitched in where they could, got through it. Best motorcade of the century. From hospice to the graveyard.
Oh my God.
Do you remember the final count?
I don't.
I don't either.
It was a lot.
Yeah. I think we had well over 50, maybe close to 100.
Oh, people cars. Or the cars?
The cars.
I think it was over 100 because, but there, I mean, he filled up that, I'm going to say because they were all there for him.
The funeral home.
He filled up the funeral home.
Yeah.
We were coming up, like it was all the way out in the hallway. People were, it was crazy.
So he was extremely well loved.
He was.
He is a great loss to all of our lives. And of course, we don't know how that shows up for you because that was your whole world. How did you navigate that grief in the first 6 months?
So you'd think that caregiving ends the day they die, right? You think it's over. But like you just said, you got to plan a funeral. You got to, where are you going to bury him? What do you do? So it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
But I didn't have time to grieve. In the first 6 months, I remember I still had Addie, who was, at this point, she's like a year and a half years old. So I didn't have time to do anything other than, okay, well, I got to provide for Addie.
Yeah.
I got to still live.
Figure out how to pay the bills. Correct. Go back to work.
Yeah. Started my new job on February 19th of 2024. He died in December 11th of 2023. I was at work already by February 19th. And so grieving for me, I don't know. I think I didn't really know what to do, I think, because I'm not taking anybody to appointments, pulling out his meds. I'm just mom. I'm not caregiver. I'm just mom.
Well, it was the first time in 8 years that you didn't have to manage appointments or medications or scans or anything, right? Not even just that year, but the whole entirety of the 8-9 years that you guys had been going through that.
I made all the phone calls. I made all the appointments. I got the meds right.
Yeah.
Like, now what?
Yeah.
Now what do I do? Sit here alone and be sad?
Yeah.
And I did. I sat and I was sad, but Josh always, the moment Josh found out that this was what was going on, I remember him saying to me, "Don't you dare sit there and cry and be sad. I want you to be happy." He's like, "So stop. When you're having those moments, have those moments, but you have Addie. You have a little piece of me." So.
And boy, is she a piece of him.
She's his little twin.
She is full on Josh. Melissa, I can't be more thankful that you decided to share your story with me and with my platform to our audience. So thank you for doing that. Is there anything about your story, about caregiving, love, loss, grief, that you feel people still don't really ask about or think about that you would like more people to know?
I think more people need to be patient with someone that just lost their husband. I don't think people understand really mentally what someone is going through. Everybody deals with something differently. Everybody deals with loss differently. So stop expecting the widow to do things she once did. Stop getting upset because they don't want to do something. They want to just stay in their house. Stop being upset when they don't reach out. We need to be checked on. And just because it's been a year, that doesn't mean anything. Be patient. I think that's really just understand that we're hurt, we're struggling, and it's been a year. We're still struggling. It's been 2 years. It's, and support changes. And yeah, I think that was something that until 2 years after, I'm now becoming me again. I'm figuring out me because I took some time to be selfish. So let us be selfish for a little bit. We deserve it,
Heck yeah, you do. Thanks so much, Melissa.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Do we want Addie to come down and give you a hug?
Where's Addie? Where's Mini Josh? Where's Addie?
Come here.
Addie, come here, please.
Oh, okay. Oh, well.
Wait. Okay. Bring me a Barbie. Hey.
Can you give Mom a big hug?
I need a big hug from Addie.
Can you run in and give her a nice big hug?
Quickly. Who's going to get here first? Is it going to be Addie or Roxy?
Hey. Nope. Want to say hi? Something in the mic?
You want to say something?
No. Oh. Okay.
Like that? Oh.
All right, that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to the Aging Together podcast. If today's conversation helped you, please follow the show, share it with a friend, or leave a quick rating or review. Your support keeps this podcast free, ad light, and growing. Until next time, let's keep learning and aging together. Take care.